or a bird that needs help, call Animus Foundation at 352-843-6379. They will come and get the animal if you can't take it to them. High school students and those with court-ordered community service can earn required hours in this rewarding environment. And veterans who share a bond with animals and parents who have been through mental or physical trauma are especially welcomed. Families, clubs, and tourists can arrange for tours of Animus without driving for hours or miles. Consider volunteering. Animus needs you.
All right, 25 minutes before 8 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Wednesday morning. 71 degrees out there. Temperatures climbing to 86. You live in Florida, and this is why you do. The phone lines are open if you want to call in. We have some stories. I suppose the gun shooting from a week ago is still probably the bigger story. So let's just jump into this. 3 students who were killed last week in that massacre down in Parkland were honored by the Army. You might have heard about 15-year-old Peter Wang. He was his fellow classmates were had a petition going so that he would be buried with military honors. I think his funeral was yesterday, if I remember right. Martin Duke, 14 years old, and Elena Petty, 14, were all cadets in the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, the JROTC, at the high school, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. The Army said it bestows the award that they gave to them, the Medal for Heroism Award, to those who perform an act of heroism that involved the acceptance of danger and extraordinary responsibilities, exemplifying praiseworthy fortitude and courage. That's from the exact quote. Anyway, so posthumously, is that how you say it, Robin? After they die, they all will get those honors. It probably doesn't change anything for the family. It's a nice gesture, and I'm not opposed to it, of course. I mean, if I could do anything to turn back time to 1 week ago right now when all of those children were still alive, I would.
Yeah.
And we can't.
No.
At least I don't know a way to. And so the best thing we can do is try to pay attention to the ideas people have about how to prevent this from happening ever again. And just weigh the things. One of the things that I thought was absolutely disgraceful was yesterday in Tallahassee. I wonder if I have that soundbite. Whether you agree with what should be done or not, you should at least listen to people who have an idea.
Yes.
And one of our legislators up in Tallahassee just cut this guy short. Let me see if I have
Oh, my God.
All right, forgive me if this is not correct. I think this might be the soundbite. All right, this is actually a report from the Florida News Network. So Rick Flagg is the voice you're going to hear, and this is. Let me see if this is on here. Let's see.
Law enforcement and education officials spent most of Tuesday in a series of meetings trying to figure out how to respond to the school shootings in Broward County. Governor Rick Scott says he wants a school safety bill to present to the Florida House and Senate no later than Friday.
As of Friday, we'll have 2 weeks left in session. And my goal is to get something accomplished. I know that we need to substantially increase funding, and I know that we have to make changes if we want our kids to be safe.
The governor says the state should be spending more on school security. But Scott, who has an A+ rating from the NRA, is not endorsing any changes in Florida's gun laws. Rick Flagg, Tallahassee.
Okay, that wasn't the soundbite I was looking for. Maybe this is it.
This is a very emotional time. It actually has energized a lot of people to be active in what should happen that had not been active in the past, and which I think is a real positive, because I think the more people that are involved, we have a lot of students that now are very active in what's going to happen, and I think that's all positive.
Okay, where would it be?
Who's the person that cut him short?
Oh, it was one. That's what I can't remember. That's why I wanted to.
Because we won't vote that person in again.
Yeah.
We'll just say, hey, you're out of here right now.
Wait, this might be it. Let's see what this one is.
The gun bill is stuck in committee, so Representative Keone McGee tried a procedural maneuver to bring it directly to the House floor. But when he tried to debate the issue, the House Speaker cut him off.
HB 219 is a bill that attempts to ensure that mass shootings and massacres, like those that took place at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
You're on the substance of the bill. Propriety of the reference, why it shouldn't be in a committee or in a committee.
All right. So that,
so it's the Florida House Speaker that cut him off.
He cut him off. He wouldn't let you, whether you agree with him or not. Why wouldn't you let him have a say so there? What was the rest of this thing?
House Republicans voted no, and they killed the ban on assault rifles without debate. An hour later, they had plenty of time to talk about a resolution declaring pornography to be a public health risk. That bill is sponsored by Representative Ross Spano, the guy who refused to hear the gun bill in his subcommittee.
There you go, Ross Spano.
Rick Flagg,
There you go. Now, is that not a disgrace?
That's a disgrace.
So they had plenty of time to talk about how bad pornography is and how damaging it is, right?
Right.
And they had no time to talk. They had no time to talk about an idea that should be considered.
To save
an idea
lives.
that should be considered.
Exactly.
I mean, ultimately, you may agree to vote against it. I am not taking sides here. My side is you have to listen to when people are up there speaking. You can't be so arrogant as to tell somebody not to talk or we're going to cut you short.
Yeah.
Let's just listen to that again. Let's just listen to this again. Let's get these names here. Who's the gentleman proposing? Let's see.
The gun bill is stuck in committee, so Representative Keone McGee tried a procedural
Keone McGee, that's the representative.
maneuver to bring it directly to the House floor. But when he tried to debate the issue, the House Speaker cut him off.
HB 219 is a bill that attempts to ensure that mass shootings and massacres, like those that took place at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
You're on the substance of the bill, the propriety of the reference, why it shouldn't be in a committee or in a committee.
House Republicans voted no, and they killed the ban on assault rifles without debate.
Wow. I mean, and just cutting him off.
Ross Spano, I'm going to remember your name. You're out of there.
Cutting him off. You know, it's, and again, for those of you, don't confuse what we're saying with what you think we're saying. We're not saying we agree or disagree with the bill. We're saying that the process, the due process in our elected bodies, these people are elected to represent us. That man speaking, what was the first guy's name?
Keanu McGee.
Okay, he was representing a lot of people in this state who agree with him. The other guy, what was his name?
Ross Spano.
Okay, so he was representing also a lot of people in this state. But the people should be listening. All of the people should be listening to both sides or three sides or however many sides there are.
That's right.
You should not be cutting people off in a public forum and then turn around and have this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, pornography is more important than the lives of
Every
our
one of
students.
those guys in that room has looked at pornography. Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
It's dangerous.
Even women.
Well, I don't know.
Well, the men and women in that room.
All I'm telling you is that if they had time for that, they should have had time for this. And come on, that's all you are elected to do is to represent us. That's your whole job.
Exactly.
Is to represent us, not to cut down. Oh my gosh, does this just make you sick?
It does. It makes me sick. That Ross Spano.
I often wonder. I often when I see an elected official wearing a wristwatch, I often wonder why they even bother, because they would never give you the time of day.
Yeah, very good point.
There you go.
Very good point.
It's a joke, but there you go. That's true.
Yeah, but that watch is paid for by tax dollars.
All right. So yesterday here in Ocala, we saw some young people, high school-looking age people, young men, standing on a corner with some primitive-looking signs that said, "Allow our teachers to have guns in school."
Yes. Thank you, students.
That's what the students were saying. Again, this is debatable. We can talk about it, but don't cut me short if I'm going to stand in front of you in Tallahassee. Don't be so arrogant and condescending to make me feel like I'm not important. My opinion isn't worthy of being heard.
That's right. That's right. That's what you're there for. You're for the people, not for yourselves and your huge houses and your vacations.
So you know who is allowed to carry a gun into school?
Okay.
Do you know who is?
The resource officers.
Resource officers and deputies. A deputy is allowed to walk into a public school with a gun. So in Volusia County, rather than waiting for elected officials to figure out what to do, Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood says he has an idea.
Okay.
He wants to deputize the teachers that pass the deputies test.
Gosh.
Deputize the teachers who want to be deputized, and once they are deputized, then legally they will be allowed to carry a gun onto the campuses.
No, that's a good idea.
Now, let's see. The test to become a deputy involves psychological screenings, as well as specialized training, mental health background checks, other background checks, hundreds of specialized hours. So if a teacher says, yes, I want to be deputized, they can be put through the program. They will not be an employee of the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, but they will be deputized, and they will be allowed to bring a gun into the school. If you agree with that or disagree with that, that's your prerogative. He himself, Mike Chitwood, the sheriff, had mixed feelings about this a few years ago. The turning point for him was the shooting down in South Florida.
Yeah, because there won't be a whole lot going through there, but the ones that are, can handle it and everything, they'll go through the program.
That's the plan. Anyway, I'm just telling you the news on that one. I expressed my opinion about this Speaker of the House up in Tallahassee. Come on.
Yeah, that bothers me.
The one thing that gets me more than anything is arrogance. Arrogance and dishonesty.
Yeah, exactly.
I think those are the two things that it's not easy to ruffle my feathers because I lost my feathers a long time ago anyway. But I just think it's the two most offensive things to me are arrogance and dishonesty.
Yeah, yep. Me too. I hate arrogant people. I hate liars.
Major League Baseball players will honor the victims of last week's shooting. They will be wearing Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School hats at spring training spring training games this week. The games are both not too far from the school. One is the Astros Nationals in West Palm Beach. The other one is the Cardinals Marlins in Jupiter. So. All right, phone lines are open. I see the phone's ringing. Let me go to the phone calls. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. And I hope I'm not on your arrogance list. I wanted to say that we're on Robin's arrogance list, but liar, pants on fire. Now we have to take a test, a psychological profile test, to go into law enforcement, and coincidentally, it's the same test that is administered to workers that are employed in the nuclear industry, amongst other businesses of serious nature. It has a way of asking you a similar question, phrased differently, repeatedly throughout the test for Robin's content. To determine whether you're telling the truth or not about how certain views you may have on a certain subject. In other words, the test itself has a profile in it if you slow down and take your time and answer it honestly. And actually, I'm glad they do have those tests and regulations. I do not personally support teachers, just like I don't support abortion, but I do think people should have a decision to make a decision about their own lives. I do not support arming teachers, but I think teachers should have the right to decide. Just like George Bush Jr., after 9/11, there became a bill where we were going to arm pilots. And I thought, well, that's cool. There's finally one thing that I could agree with George Bush Jr. on. We will arm the pilots if they care to be armed. And in fact, in the end, George Bush Jr. sided with Lloyd's of London, the major insurance carrier for the airlines industry in general, and decided that he would take a stance with them because Lloyd's of London didn't want the pilots armed, and so henceforth they're not. So it's interesting. We're kind of sold an image of reality, and then there's reality, the true reality.
Yeah.
But I agree. Pilots should have that choice, Larry. So I think instead of militarizing our society and turning the country into like an Israel or a Beirut, Lebanon, where everybody's got machine guns and everybody's got forced induction to the military, I think the real easy thing to do is just go back to the automatic weapons ban that they had up from 94 to 2004. In other words, reinstate the automatic weapons ban. And then I had a question. Instead of listening to my opinion, I have a question for Larry and Robin. Do you both support this in Tallahassee? And do you support what they're saying? And I'll hang up.
Wait. You have to say it again because you broke up. I didn't really hear you.
Okay, sorry. All right. Do you both support the students' right to protest in Tallahassee, which I think you might, but then do you support what they're saying? And today is D-Day for that. They are in Tallahassee there to meet the people. And I'll hang up and listen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's an easy one for me. I absolutely support their right to be there.
Certainly.
Oh my
they
gosh.
need to be there.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And again, if our elected officials are going to be arrogant and not listen to what they say because they are quote unquote children,
yes,
then come on.
Yeah, then you're out of office.
When they were 17, when they were 16, they were. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee used to be a candidate for president, used to do a radio talk show, etc., who is an advocate for gun rights, last week said tight security protects Israel from mass shootings. So I wanted to talk real briefly about this. Israel has laws in place that control who can own and carry a gun. So if you want us to be a society like Israel, I guess that's another debate. Huckabee made the statement following the shootings last week. Israel's gun laws are different from ours. Applicants in Israel must have a signed bill of health from their doctor. They must go through a background check and be at least 21 years old. They must have had military service or national service. I'm not sure what the difference is. If they don't, if they don't have military service, then they have to be at least 27 years old.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I see. Gun licenses in Israel have to be renewed every 3 years. Gun owners must complete an annual practice at a shooting range. There are very few applications that are accepted, and those who do receive licenses are only allowed to purchase 9mm pistols. Rifles are reserved for people who need them for ongoing security roles. Bullets are limited too. Individuals are only allowed 50 per year, while security guards can purchase 100. So I wanted to kind of give you I got this off of Wikipedia, so. But those are the rules, and of course Wikipedia you take with a grain of salt also. But Wikipedia says these are the rules for owning a weapon or being a gun-carrying citizen in the nation of Israel. Armed guards in Israel do stand outside movie theaters and shopping malls, and licensed commercial security firms guard schools. So licensed commercial security firms guard schools in Israel. Armed civilians don't. So that is the rundown on how that works over there.
Yeah. No, we should have, like you've been saying, real law enforcement personnel and dogs at every school. And lockdown.
And again, that's my thought. I'm not saying that I have all of the ideas. I just thought that's my 2 cents. Okay, consider it, mull it around. If you think it's a good idea, then run with it, and if you don't, then toss it out and find something better.
Yeah.
But I think everybody who has an idea, a thought, everybody has good intentions. Well, those who do have good intentions, I suppose, should be heard. You may not agree. That's the thing. I mean, we don't always agree, but I truly think that most people who disagree with one another, who are not unreasonable people, most people who disagree with one another have good intentions. It's the bridge across the East River theory. When the Brooklyn Bridge was first built, they said, should we tax the people for it, or should we put up a toll?
Yeah.
Well, both sides agreed there should be a bridge. They just disagreed on how to pay for it. It's the same kind of a thing here.
And that thing, too, about, I guess it was the governor saying he wants something done because the session's going to end in 2 weeks. Well, to me,
come on.
Don't end the session. You guys should be up there all the time working, not going out and ending the session. So I have an issue with that, too. I've always not liked that, ending the session. No, you should be there all the time voting on stuff.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, guys.
Hello, Hugh. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. I really like that idea of deputizing teachers. I think they should be compensated for that because they're actually performing two things now, not only being teachers, but they're being guards. And I think it's a wonderful idea, and I believe that their pay there should be an increase in their pay for taking on that kind of a dangerous function, but very important.
Well, I'm sure people agree with you. I think the reason the sheriff in that county said they would not be paid, they would not be on the payroll, is because it would be harder to get his county commissioners to go along with it.
Well, the heck with the county commissioners. It's more important to have people that can protect the kids in school.
Okay, but if the county commissioner says, no, we're not going to allow that, and the reason is because they're being paid, then do you understand the sheriff's reasoning for that? The sheriff says, I want them in there. I want them to be able to protect those children. If the county commission votes no on that, and it's because of pay, then just take away the pay. And I'm sure the teachers would do it anyway.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and I hope that comes about because there has to be some way of protecting those kids at school. It's
Absolutely.
I don't see any other way of doing it.
And again, we are agreeing on the end result. And I'm not disagreeing. I'm just telling you his reasoning. His reasoning was the dollar amount that they would have to approve. All right, thank you, Hugh.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
From the sheriff's department budget, now maybe the Volusia County can find money from a different budget to put toward that.
Okay.
So,
but listen to what his reasoning is. This is not Larry. This is Mike Chitwood.
Right.
Right, Mike, yeah.
Mike.
If he includes in his little written plan, and he had a little written plan, they showed it on the news, that each one of these teachers that goes along with this will get compensated for it. That might be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and then you have teachers in school, and then his mission isn't accomplished.
Yeah, that's right.
His mission is accomplished if people will do it voluntarily. A volunteer.
Exactly, volunteer right to bear arms.
Let's see. The Johnny Reb statue at the Ocala Marion County Veterans Memorial Park had graffiti on it yesterday.
Oh, no. Disgusting.
Spray paint caused about $300 worth of damage. The words that were written on it were "South will not rise again," "racist," a frowning face, and the number 575. 575. I don't know what 575 means. That's the number. I know that's the number of black prisoners who were employed by engineer corps in Mobile, Alabama. But do people know that automatically? So
no, it's disgusting. This is a history. You cannot erase history, so you might as well have history right there so you can remember it and improve on it and not go that way again.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning. I kind of support a teacher anonymously having a weapon and proper training, but I don't think they should get paid because they're protecting themselves. I carry a weapon, and I don't need to get paid because I'm protecting me. And you might have teachers doing it for the wrong reason, just to get a check.
Good point.
I think they should do it because their heart's in it.
Oh, good point. Yeah, and they would be anonymous, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, they would. They would be anonymous. Nobody would know who had guns and who didn't.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. They might do it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and that coach jumped in front of the students. The other teachers were jumping in front of the students to protect them. That came from the heart. It didn't come from anywhere else.
And that is his point. That is the sheriff's point. He said if these teachers are willing to put their bodies in line of fire so that the kids don't get hit, then the teacher should at least have a way to fire back.
Yes, for sure.
And if he has to wait for the protocol to go through, he feels like it won't go through. The easier, quicker way is to deputize.
Good for him.
Thank
you.
The teachers.
Sheriff Chitwood.
All right. That story, by the way, is in several different places. I don't remember where I found it. I think it was on the Associated Press. Probably the Daytona Beach News Journal, probably. All right. We're up against the break. Let's take that break, and we'll be back in just a bit with Galen. If this spills over to the Galen segment, that's okay. I'm sure he won't mind. In fact, he'll probably have something he wants to say about it himself. Otherwise, we'll go to the topic of this on the silly side, which is words or expressions that are just annoying. I have a feeling we'll get to that. Maybe. All right, we'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Chris Foster. President Trump plans to meet today with high school students, teachers, and administrators for what's being called a listening session about school shootings. Survivors of last week's shooting in Florida are in Tallahassee for gun control rallies at the state capitol, where yesterday lawmakers refused to consider a bill banning many semi-automatic weapons and large-capacity magazines. Parkland student Cheryl Acquarola calls those who voted no murderers.
The next death of someone with an assault rifle here in Florida is going to be on them.
An Alabama police officer has been shot and killed by a man suspected of killing his ex-wife. There was a 5-hour standoff ending with the suspect dead.
We don't know if he died as a result of his self-inflicted injuries.
Mobile Police Chief Lawrence Batiste there says at least one officer had fired shots that the officer killed. Justin Vila had been on the job for 6 months and loved it. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Attention shoppers, clean up on aisle 14. Clean up on aisle 14. Someone dropped a jar of pickles. Kosher pickles.
Beatboxing at a big box store. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
A red minivan has the lights on in the parking lot.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Geico.
When you're hiring, you don't want to sort through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes. Set up screener questions. Then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Daryl has hired with Indeed.
Nothing has been this simple, this easy, and this effective.
Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.
Are you worried about our outdoor heritage, clean drinking water, and a place where future generations can enjoy wildlife? Attend a local Ducks Unlimited event. A good time for a great cause with people just like you.
Join us for the Ocala Ducks Unlimited Dinner, catered by the Texas Cattle Company, on Friday, March 2nd at the Motel 6 Conference Center on Blitchton Road. For tickets, call Tom at 352-895-3614 or visit www.ducks.org/Florida/events.
Northwest Florida's largest RV show is coming to the Florida Horse Park. It's the Ocala RV Show, March 1st through 4th. A huge selection of RVs with show special pricing and drive-them-home financing. Daily door price of 2 $100 gas cards each day, no purchase necessary. Thursday through Saturday 9 to 5, Sunday 10 to 4. Buy one, get one free admission Thursday. $2 off military and first responders every day. Adults $5, kids under 16 free. The Ocala RV Show, March 1st through 4th. Wherever you roam, you're always at home.
Here is your news brief from the source, WOCA. Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood says he wants to deputize teachers in his county to fast-track an effort to allow educators to be armed. An 86-year-old Ocala man has been arrested and charged with lewd and lascivious behavior for allegedly molesting a girl from the age of 6 until she was 12 years old. A Confederate statue in the Ocala-Marion County Veterans Memorial Park has been defaced with graffiti, causing about $300 worth of damage. Major League Baseball players will honor victims of last week's shooting in Florida by wearing Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school hats at spring training games this week. And prescribed burns are going on throughout Florida, so if you are seeing smoke today, this may be why. Locations are posted on the Florida Forest Service website. And that is your news brief from the source.
Young Jonas lives in a perfect community. His family is perfect. The neighbors are perfect. There is no stress, no pain. Everything is the same. But when Jonas begins his training as the next giver, he learns that there is so much more and that everything might not be as perfect as it seems. Based on the award-winning novel by Lois Lowry, The Giver is live on stage at Ocala Civic Theater February 15th through 25th. 352-236-2274 or buy online at ocalicivictheater.com. Can life be too perfect?
Hey Tish, this email about Honey Baked Ham giving our listeners $20 off of a 9-pound ham just for mentioning WOCA, is this right?
Yes, while supplies last, our listeners can save $20 off of a 9-pound or larger ham. All they have to do is tell them that they heard about it on WOCA.
Okay, call Honey Baked Ham today, 861-0011, or stop by 2709 Southwest 27th Avenue, right there behind Best Buy. Tell them you heard about the special on WOCA and save $20. But hurry in, this is a limited time offer.
All right, 4 minutes after 8 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Beautiful Wednesday morning. I hope you're doing well. Galen Newnold is on the phone from Life South Community Blood Center. Good morning, Galen.
Hey, good morning, Larry, Robin. How are y'all?
Good. Where are you today?
Just heading to Gainesville today.
Did you happen to listen in on the last segment?
I did.
So before we get into the business of things, what is your thought on the Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood, his idea to deputize the teachers? What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, not a bad idea. I'm curious as to how many of the teachers already have, a concealed carry license.
Yeah.
Because then they could bring it in the next day. I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm sure it's going to run into all kinds of legal issues.
But that's different. If you have a concealed carry license, you haven't gone through the deputy training, though. So that is different. They'd have to do it.
Absolutely. They'd have to go through all that. I get it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's better than what you're hearing a lot of things. It's just people saying,
I think it's a good idea.
Ban guns. Banning guns isn't going to do anything. It's at least a good idea. We'll see if it's executable, but it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, he's looking for people who already have concealed carry licenses. Yeah. He's looking for, veterans who became teachers. I don't know. It seems like a good idea to me.
It is.
Sure. One of the things, and I was talking to my mom a lot about this yesterday, because she taught for over 35 years, and you go to a hospital and they do like a code red or whatever and they lock it down, you cannot move from one area of that hospital. You are stuck in whatever area you are in. And I don't know why our school systems aren't the same way.
I didn't know that. Wow, really? I guess I've never been in a hospital when a code red was called.
Yeah, I mean, they could just lock the doors. They could do it remotely, and they could do it, fairly instantaneously.
Yeah,
my thought was they would be, teachers lock their doors, fine, but bulletproof doors. I read those are now the norm in new schools.
Yeah.
But when they should be able to close and restrict the movement of anybody at any time.
I wonder if there's a way to know if somebody pulls a fire alarm. I wonder if there's a way to know, automatically whether there's really a fire. I mean, the pulling of the fire alarm is kind of old technology. I mean, you would think we have technology now at this point where you could hit a button and say, oh, it's not real,
Well, the worst thing you want to do in a shooting situation like that is to pull a fire alarm.
No.
That means people are going to herd into the hallway.
No. I'm saying that's what the shooter did last week. He pulled the fire alarm.
Right, absolutely.
And threw smoke bombs.
And he didn't know. I mean, nobody knew. Yeah, nobody knew that somebody did that. They became sitting ducks.
Absolutely.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you lock the doors or you have all these things in place, but then somebody compromises those conditions, whatever, those precautions, that's what I want to say.
Absolutely.
By pulling a fire alarm, I don't know. It seems like there should be some way of knowing.
It still, to me, it all goes back to how was he allowed on that campus?
Right.
How did he get access to the campus?
Yes.
That, to me, is the issue and nobody's really talking about it, because we're so, and I understand why, but all we're hearing right now is the emotion, and you cannot make law based on emotion. You just can't do it. It'll become a bad law. That's how you end up with, oh my God, there's no toilet paper in the restaurant, so you should be fined.
I don't know, it's not the same category. I think emotion sometimes is a good catalyst.
No, absolutely not.
You don't think so?
You want to be very rational, and you want to make it all should be moral.
I know.
And they should be very thought out.
Okay.
You don't want them to be knee-jerk reaction.
Okay.
You've got to take that emotion out of it.
Let me try to give you an example where that's not true. Okay? My brother and his wife lost a daughter to a hit-and-run driver. They wanted this hit-and-run driver to have justice served, right? There was a 3-year statute of limitations on hit-and-run drivers who kill somebody. 3 years passed, that guy or lady is free and clear. So an emotion led them to go to State Senator Larry Creedle at that time. And between the three of them, they crafted a law that now lifted that statute of limitations. So there's an example of an emotion that became good law. Because when somebody hits somebody and kills them and drives off the scene, and all they have to do is stay hidden for 3 years and get away with it, that's a disgrace. That's a shame. So I think emotion, I hear what you're saying about emotion not being able to create a law or shouldn't be able to influence decisions about making law. But I do think emotion can be a good catalyst for getting the ball rolling.
Well, no, and that's exactly right. And so in that case, the emotion spurred passion, and that started other people to look at it, and then the law was crafted in a non-emotional state years later. That's okay.
Yeah,
but you don't want to, like they're up there, they want to instantly ban, and you have people buying guns, and you have people crying on TV. That's not when you make law.
Well, okay, that's fair to say, but I'm just saying an emotion can be a good reason to get the ball rolling, to get moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and absolutely, I agree with that part.
Otherwise,
our lawmakers should not vote based on that emotion. They should be voting on that based on the logic and the morality of the law.
Playing on our emotions is one of the best ways to help people understand that abortion is killing a baby.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would argue that I think emotion is what's clouding the whole abortion argument. Because there are people that are passionate about, because I have the right, it's my body. That's pure emotion. To me, the logical side is that baby is a life.
Yeah, well, that side of the argument is also expressing an emotion. And
to me, it's a moral issue. If you believe that a baby inside a mother's womb is a being, is a real human being, that's not emotion. That's science.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that. All I'm trying to express here is that emotion sometimes, and probably frequently actually, is the catalyst for getting laws passed.
Yeah.
Why do we put?
I think, and I don't think that's good. If you want to use the abortion case.
All right. Well, what about? What about the stoplight?
I think that's what caused it.
What about the stoplight that the elected officials keep saying no, not at this intersection. We don't have the money. No, and then there's a fatality at that intersection, and suddenly there's a stoplight.
Exactly.
Because emotion said, "Oh my gosh, somebody died. This should never happen again. Let's put up a stoplight."
No, I would say the facts dictated that it should have happened.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a semantic thing right now. Maybe there's a semantics thing going on between you and I right now. I don't think we're debating or arguing at all. I just think there's a semantics difference. Somehow you're not recognizing things as emotions, and I am. That's the only difference. Otherwise, we're on the same track.
To me, that's cause and effect. On the red light, the law shouldn't have been changed because everybody was all fired up, and they should look at it and say, "Do we need a light? Is it a safety issue?" They obviously thought it wasn't a safety issue before, and then somebody died. I'm like, well, obviously now it's a safety issue.
Well, okay. We are agreeing. I don't hear us disagreeing. What I hear is a semantics thing. What you are referring to as logic, I'm referring to as emotion, and it is in my mind the same thing you're saying. I don't think it's any different. All right, let me squeeze. We got the phones ringing as you knew was going to happen. Let me squeeze some of these in. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, guys. Mike McCoy.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I believe all change it comes from emotions. That's just my opinion. But as far as the teachers carrying weapons, being deputized, we already have the person who's probably one of the most influential, important people in our children's lives, the school teachers, are already being asked to do so much with so little for so long, and now we want them to arm themselves and become, unpaid security officers, basically. And the vast majority of these people, I don't believe are, in my opinion now, that's may or may not be true, but I think the vast majority of them are probably going to be not qualified to carry a handgun in a situation like that. It's like arming everybody. Well, if you get how are you gonna know who the criminal or the attacker is when everybody's running around with a gun shooting at them?
Mm-hmm.
I understand the situation where they're in the room, they're barricaded in the room, the guy's trying to knock the door in, and then you've got a weapon, somebody has a weapon. But, I mean, we have teachers that are already, like I said, they're doing, in my opinion, they're way, way, way underappreciated, both in, especially in their pay. The amount of work that we ask them to do for the amount of pay that they're given. And yet we'll go out here and pay one guy that can bounce a basketball enough money that will pay the salary of probably 100 teachers over for a year.
Wow.
So it's just crazy. It's crazy, and I don't think teachers should be asked to have to be armed and carry weapons in the classroom unless they choose to and they're qualified.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the call.
Larry, I just want to comment on one thing. Those teachers, they know who belongs in that school and who doesn't belong.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, they're there every day. They know every one of the other teachers. They know who doesn't belong. And as far as I'm so sick of the whole, athlete/actor gets paid more than a teacher. I mean, it's an old argument. The fact of the matter is that the people who watch that basketball player dribble the ball pay his salary.
Right.
It's not a government expense.
Right.
So let's just move on, whereas the teachers are. And if the community truly cared and they wanted their teachers to make more money, then they would come back and say, hey, I want to pay more in taxes. And that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, just to be clear, the sheriff in Volusia County wants this to be a voluntary thing. He's not. He's
great. Absolutely.
He's not asking.
No. I mean, just overall, the whole teacher argument is they deserve more pay. Okay, then write a check to the Marion County School Board.
All right, let me squeeze another one in. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, thanks, Larry. And it's a privilege to speak to you, Galen. You're a fellow veteran. And you're logical. I would just say regarding Larry's conversation with you and his brother, and thank goodness for your brother, Larry. That's very impressive, and I applaud his diligence and his wife's, your sister-in-law's. But what Galen is saying, he's talking about the lawmakers, and I think Larry is talking about the inspiration as the victim. And so you're really representing a similar cause. Larry's coming from the emotional side of the victim, and then Galen speaking, should the law, in other words, like when a law enforcement officer encounters a scene where there's much emotion, he can't be a robot, but he has to control his own emotions, where the people in the victim's statehood will overwhelm the policeman. So that's why the cops have to be very good at dealing with their own emotions and controlling that. So it's similar to a lawmaker. Henceforth, lawmakers and the laws are imposed, or implemented, I should say, not imposed, by law enforcement. So you kind of have to work together. And in fact, they do. We just share with yourself, Larry, I think you would realize this, and Galen does too. And I know just because, it's the gun, I just want to, what I would support, is the reinstitution of the gun sales, the automatic weapons ban. They're not automatic weapons, but the law that they had back in the 90s. In other words, so I don't think that's emotional. And I would just say, from a tactical standpoint, having been a Marine that worked a lot around the Navy, pistols do not take down rifles. And so, if you just look at the Los Angeles bank robbery, where those two guys that robbed that bank in the shooting in the late 90s, they had rifles, and the policemen, LAPD, they did not. And actually, it took some off-duty SWAT team guys that happened to have carbines in their vehicles to finally to confront them, a rifle on rifle. 150 policemen were pinned down with their rifles. So, and even a shotgun taking on a rifle, it would be that's very dangerous as well. Pistols and rifles, pistols and shotguns versus a rifle, whether it's semi-automatic or automatic, is a very deadly mix for the person that's less armed. Like the Marines say, to beat firepower, you have to have superior firepower. So and I'm not being critical, Larry. It's like you're a musician. You know things around a lot of things, but music I wouldn't have a clue about. So I would listen to you.
Wait a minute. Don't get mad at me. I agree. First of all, and
I'm not mad at anybody.
And here's what I say. When somebody as knowledgeable as yourself about guns, you need to be part of the conversation about the decision of what to do with guns. You, somebody like my brother Tom, who's got unbelievable knowledge of guns, you guys are the ones who should be talking about this. You're right. A guy like me will bring emotion into it. And you're right. It does muddy the waters a little bit. All I'm saying is that if I'm the school superintendent, for example, and I'm going to order that all doors be locked, I think if I ask Dr. Mayer if she did that out of emotion, it doesn't matter what the answer is, whether it's yes or no. She did it, period. And I'm sure there was some emotion involved. That's all I'm saying.
Larry, could I respond to your observation, please?
Go ahead.
Well, I would just say, and maybe Galen, he's got a life, and maybe he missed it. But on national news, they had a 65-year-old teacher. I mentioned it yesterday. I don't even know if she's the same one, but it's another older teacher. And she said she broke protocol because the doors in these big cities, a lot of the doors are bulletproof made, and the glass that's put in the window so you can see who's trying to get in will also slow down. They're bulletproof as well to some degree. So in other words, the protocol is they do lock down like a code red in a hospital. So Galen's on the right track, but it's already happening. So in other words, our schools are a lot more militarized than maybe citizens realize.
Yeah.
They're more policified, by the way. So I'm not saying that they're not vulnerable. The solution is not, in my opinion. Now this is emotional to a right winger. Is not more guns. It's less guns.
Thank you.
That's just me. Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
He brought up the L.A. shooting, right, which was in the early '90s. That's the kind of argument that drives me nuts, because that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're talking about highly trained. I think there were 5 men. They were in full body armor. They had illegal rifles that were fully automatic. Their automatic weapons are banned, except in 2 states. Right? Whether it still fires 1 bullet at a time. Every legal gun in the state of Florida fires 1 bullet at a time. Now, the grenades he had, the smoke grenades, those are illegal. They're trying to figure out where he got them from. So, if we're gonna have a conversation, let's stick to the facts and everything that pertains to this discussion.
Well, and going back to this discussion that happened in Tallahassee yesterday, where one of our legislators, Robin wrote his name down. What was his name?
Keani McGee.
Okay, he wanted to talk about this, but the Speaker of the House, what was his name?
Ross Spano.
Decided, no, we're not going to talk about this. That, to me, is wrong. I don't know if you want to call that emotion or not, but the guy was trying to express a thought that should have been expressed by a fellow elected official. But instead, they went on to talk for hours about pornography being bad for you.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable that they wouldn't even listen to what he had to say.
That happens all the time, because there's the protocol, the rules of the room and how Congress operates.
Well, that's always the excuse.
This one would just happen highly dramatized. Again, I don't want, and I think Mark did a good job of illustrating my point. Our lawmakers and our law enforcement have to be emotionless when it comes to this thing, because it's a long-term impact. Whatever they decide is going to have a long-term impact.
Yeah, no, I am not debating whether a lawmaker
have to study the issue.
I'm telling you that a lawmaker who is deciding this will have an emotion. If you don't think there was emotion in the voice of the person who told the other guy to stop talking, if you don't think there was emotion in his voice, then I don't know. I disagree then.
I'm sure there was. I'm sure he was frustrated, because I'm sure this was a grand. I didn't see the whole thing. I saw the same clip that everybody else did. I didn't see the 10 minutes before that, and I didn't see the 10 minutes after that. But he probably, they had gone in and said, this is the discussion of the day, and you're not going to bring up something that's not relative to that discussion.
Okay, but ultimately we're all on the same page. We all want to, using my metaphor, We all want to build a bridge that goes across the water. We're just trying to decide how to pay for it. And so we all want the children to be safe. That's the bridge. We all want them to be safe. We're just trying to figure out what's the best thing.
There's a time and a place to have that discussion.
Right. What's the best way?
And obviously that time frame
then there's
that they
no
had set
emotion.
aside to discuss pornography.
There's no emotion here at all, is there? If you listen to what Mike Chitwood had to say, the Volusia County Sheriff, he has an idea. He thinks this should be implemented. Other people are arguing, no, that's a bad idea. Okay? Everybody has an emotion about this, but ultimately the same goal is in mind, at least by reasonable people, which is to protect the kids. No? Am I wrong about this?
Yeah, but I think you're missing my point.
No, I'm not. Yeah, you're trying to say that emotion isn't making. You're trying to. Okay, well, help me understand that. I thought you were saying that emotion plays no role in any of this.
No, I said emotion should not play any role in this. Emotion plays a huge role in our politics today, and I think that's the problem.
Well, good luck. Good luck getting emotion out of it. I think emotion is why we have the.
But again, when we make what makes a good law?
Why did John Hancock write his name so big? Because he was.
So he could be seen.
He was emotional about this whole document, what it meant.
Yeah.
No, he wanted to be seen.
No.
And again, that's not good. I would say that's not good.
Okay.
I want my lawmakers to make law based on the morality.
Me too.
Based on the that has
based on the
where
Constitution.
Emotion doesn't have anything that doesn't have anything to do with emotion.
Right. See, again, I don't know if you can't hear it or not, but we are agreeing. We are agreeing.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that the fuel that motivates people to go to Tallahassee from Miami, 16-year-old kids, the fuel that motivates people to walk on Washington, march on Washington, whether you agree with that cause or not. But the fuel that moves all people to do things that cause change is emotion.
Sure.
It is emotion. That's the fuel.
I understand that part. I mean, I have a 17-year-old son at home, and I wouldn't trust his opinion on very many things. My computer, yeah. But that's about it. And I think a little bit of what they're doing is really sensationalizing the whole event and using this kid's emotion to try to get one of their agenda items done. And that's why it to me it's a little off-putting. If you want to have a gun discussion, let's have a gun discussion. But if we're going to do it, then we need to use the law and the facts that are currently present and not completely, muddy the waters with things that simply aren't true, like gun show loopholes or, all these, an AR-15 is an automatic weapon.
But
neither one of those things are true.
Things that are not true are not emotion. Those are just people trying to persuade people with falsehoods.
Yeah, I keep moving
that's called
past
propaganda.
The emotion.
That's called propaganda.
I'm trying to move past the whole emotional argument. You keep bringing it back. No, what I'm saying, if we're going to have a discussion, let's use the real facts and use everything that's pertinent to the conversation. All I'm saying.
And I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that at all. All right, Galen, how is the blood supply? Where's the bloodmobile?
Yes. In your news, they mentioned the shooting in Mobile, Alabama, with the officer, and so we're having a blood drive there today for him. We supply that entire area, and the community's kind of rattled by the whole thing, as you can imagine. But yeah, we're having our blood drive today. It's going to be at Waste Management, and also we're at the Life Care Center. So.
Oh, okay, right down the road.
Give the gift of life. Yeah, just please give the gift of life and donate blood. We are in emergency need of all types, and we need what you have inside you.
Very good. Thank you for what you do, and I truly respect your opinion.
Great discussion.
It is great. It is a great one. Everybody who contributed gave us some really good stuff.
Absolutely.
Enjoy your day. Be careful out there, and thank you for what you do for a living and for sharing your.
All right, you guys are the best
with us. Thank you. We'll be right back.
And again, I want to say one thing, and thank you, OCA, for allowing local radio to have these kinds of conversations. because that's where these conversations need to start on the local level, because that's where change happens.
There you go. Absolutely. Good statement. All right, we'll be right back. This is The Source, WOC.
All right, bye, y'all.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. President Trump plans to meet today with high school students, teachers, and administrators for what's being called a listening session about school shootings. Survivors of last week's shooting in Florida are in Tallahassee for gun